All right, guys. So we are live on a Saturday night helping people quit nicotine and cannabis. Two things, real quick, before we dive into this. If you are a high performance individual, maybe you're a business owner, entrepreneur, high level professional, we have a science backed method that helps people quit nicotine and cannabis in as little as 48 hours. Privately, without disrupting your public life image and without relapse. I put a link in the video description and pinned comment where you can learn more about that. Now, if it's your first time here on one of these lives, I answer questions live as they roll in. So if you're watching the replay, just fast forward a few minutes into this so you're not, bored in the beginning few minutes as we get the ball rolling, okay? All right, we got mind blowing 2345. Hello, guru. Trust me, I'm no guru. I appreciate the compliments, but I'm just someone who has maybe a bit more expertise than your average person on it. I don't know if I'm a guru of things. Anyways, how are you doing tonight? If you have questions for me, please ask. I'll do my best to give you guys some guidance and answer questions for you as we're here tonight, okay? Well, it's very kind of you. Thank you, Mindblowing2345. I do appreciate it. It's kind of you. I've helped a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people. I got a lot of knowledge in this space, I suppose. So, yeah, questions though for me. Ask me a question. Hit me with something, guys, in the comments. Drop a comment. Ask me questions. Let me know what it is you're struggling with, and let me see what I can help with. I'd really be happy to help you guys out with some things. Just let me know. Let me know what it is you got going on. Let me know what it is you're dealing with. Drop me some questions. Drop me some questions. What are you trying to quit? What are the biggest challenges that you're facing? I haven't done a live in a little while. Tea is a great thing. 8 a.m. Sunday morning. Tea is a wonderful thing. Okay, let's see here. Anthony, I've been missing using weed and alcohol. I've been finding sobriety boring sometimes. Any help? Yeah, so the first thing is you have to ask yourself the question, are drugs really going to make things less boring? Do substances really have the superpower, the capability of making a boring experience less boring? That's the first thing you have to question yourself. Secondly, I think you have to be real with yourself. Maybe things are boring for you right now, right? Largely, when I quit substances, I didn't have a lot of other stuff going on in my life because so much of my life was dedicated to my substance use. So, objectively, when I quit, my life was somewhat boring. Like it just was. And I'll tell you this, Anthony, it took time for me to build up other things. It took time for me to transition to those next stages of my life. So when I quit drugs, yes, I was objectively bored. But I chipped away at my businesses. I worked on my relationships. I worked on my physical health. I worked on my medical health. Like I just kept going and going and going. And I created so many different things to fill in that boredom, right? Tonight's a Saturday night where I am at almost 11 p.m. I'm full of energy right now, and I'm bored. I'm bored. But look at this. In my sobriety, I built this beautiful platform and YouTube channel. So I always have something to do. I always have something to do, right? Whether it's work related, I got married, I have a child now. I always have something to do. You can fill in those gaps to such an extent in your life that you could never have to be bored again. It requires work, it requires effort, but it can be done. But just realize, like, yeah, you might be bored because if a lot of your life was dedicated to substance use, then you probably don't have a lot of other things going on, just like the position I was in when I quit. You can build other things, though. You can build out other stuff. A lot of that boredom time that I had was time that I learned about social media, how to make YouTube videos, how to make TikToks. It was super exciting for me. I took addiction recovery coaching certifications, right? And then I learned business classes about stuff. So there's so much you can do. There's really no need to be bored. But that boredom is important. It's time that's allowing your brain to heal and restore. And don't mistake boredom for a lack of chaos either, okay? If boredom is the biggest problem you're facing in your life right now, things are going pretty well. So put that in perspective, right? I'd much rather be bored than hospitalized with a health crisis or, God forbid, something happened to one of my family members. A lot of times when I'm bored, I say, okay, this is a good thing. That means I'm not facing any major crises in my life right now. So, yeah, Okay, very good. Vincent says 3 months sober, no butter, booze. I'm still struggling with adult media content. James asks, any tips on adult media content? Yeah, I mean, I have tons of tips on adult media content. Okay, I'm going to throw you guys a phenomenal resource. I'm friends with the people over at the Freedom Model, thefreedommodel.org. Okay. They have a course, a self-paced course on overcoming adult media content. I think it's like 100 something bucks. One of the best resources out there on overcoming adult media content. So that's the first thing I'll throw at you. Now, specifically, it's like any other thing. You're watching adult media content because there's some perceived pleasure or benefit to watching it. Now, for me, so one, you got to dismantle that. Two, when it came to me quitting adult media content, and I tell people this all the time, it was literally a mechanism of habit replacement. There came a point in my life where I was like, I could watch adult media content right now, or I could edit this social media video. I could write a community post. And when I started doing this stuff, it wasn't for addiction related. I was actually posting about CBD products. I was posting about chiropractic things, right, for that aspect of my career. And it came to a point at night where I began to prefer working up working on social media as compared to watching adult media content. Like I just built out another preference for myself. It was really that was probably the biggest thing when it came to me for stopping adult media content. It for me that truly was just a matter of habit replacement. That's really what it came down to. I found something that I was more interested in than watching adult media content. Also, I'll say this. I've quit nicotine, cannabis, pornography, stimulants. I eat pretty healthy, right? I've largely stay away from junk food. And it is amazing because over the years, there's been periods where I've watched adult media content, and it's fascinating because I take pretty good care of myself. After, let's say, 2, 3 days of watching adult media content in a row, it's incredible how terrible I feel. So I think just recognizing like how bad watching adult media content in like a binge manner made me feel also made it easier to quit. In the past, when I was doing drinking adult media content, cannabis every day, nicotine every day, I didn't even know what was making me feel good or bad. I had no awareness. I couldn't even figure it out. But once adult media content was the only thing left, I could really feel how much that was messing with me physically and mentally. And that also became a very strong deterrent for adult media content, okay? Now you could do simpler stuff too. There's app blockers, there's things like that out there. But really I think it's just a matter of building out a different preference. I'll finish up this live. Now, do I have cravings to watch adult media content anymore? No, that's gone. But let's say I finish this live and I still got some energy left. I could sit down and say, all right, I'm going to watch adult media content, or I have two books that I'm currently working through that I am truly excited to get into reading. So it's just become a different preference for me. I'm going to prefer reading over sitting down and watching adult media content at this point in my life. So I think it's all those things. There's some other factors too, I think, to be aware of. Your age is going to play a role. What you value in people is going to play a role. Like we could go down a rabbit hole with adult media content. Maybe I'll do a live just dedicated to that. Okay. Um, all right. Abdullah says, good morning, sir. I want a radical solution to quit smoking and masturbation. I tried many times, but I couldn't. However, I will not give up. I want practical advice. Well, the most radical practical advice that I can give you is to stop. I I know that sounds insane and it's like what? And this is coming from a guy who's made thousands of videos about it, but like the most radical thing you could do is just stop. Like honestly, stop smoking, stop masturbating. Now, I think though there's a few things. One, why are you doing it? Like, why are you doing it? What pleasure do you find in it? We have to start, in order to stop doing anything, you have to devalue the thing that you're doing. Okay. So that's where it's going to start. And I don't know enough about you to answer that. Right. When we work with people inside our one-on-one protocol, it's radical because we usually get people to quit within 48 hours, max 18 days of working with us because we're really good at helping people devalue the behaviors or the substances that it is they're doing or partaking in or consuming. Okay. Um, Two, you are the solution. your ability to make a rational choice for yourself to create a favorable lifestyle that doesn't involve masturbation or smoking is like you're the solution. And I think I'm starting to see, even now that I'm looking into your comment a little more, where the problem is. Like, we offer a protocol called the addiction exit protocol, right? It's a solution to addiction. But ultimately, our protocol is focused on the individual and their unique circumstances. You are the tool. You are the solution. You are the thing. It's your mindset. That solution, that resolve, is not going to inherently come from some outside source. And a lot of times what happens is people wind up putting all their faith in a supplement, in a medication, in a 12-step program, and Dr. Frank. And I always remind people, you are the thing that's going to fix this. That's what we help people do. We help you become the solution to your own problems. That's why what we do is so effective with people. If you want to learn more about that, I put a link in the video description where you can apply to work with us. But you are the solution. There is nothing radically crazy about this. Right? It's just that's I guess what I could say. But I don't know what your biggest holdup is to quitting. And then I'll say something else too. You say, I've tried many times. I find that a lot of people say they've tried, but they don't actually know what trying is, right? When I'm having business conversations with people and they say, no, I really, really tried to get this business off the ground. I really, really tried. I don't think people comprehend the level of effort that actually qualifies as trying, because if you are legitimately trying, you are going to succeed. Okay. So I think you've tried because you've done different things and those things didn't work for you. But I don't know if you really, really tried. I don't know if you have a good concept of what actually trying is. Because if you really tried, you would succeed. And I didn't understand for years what trying meant. I learned this very much in a business frame. You know, I would tell my business mentor, I'm showing up every day, I'm doing the things, I'm here in my office, I'm doing this, I'm really trying. And he would tell me consistently, time and time again, no, you're not. You think you're trying because you're going through the motions of what trying looks like, but you are not actually trying. And I just couldn't help but wonder if maybe that scenario could apply to you. Okay. Kill the hive mind. You're not actually bored. Everyone has things to do. It's about motivation, and the motivation returns the more you do. Start small. The dopamine comes back around 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Yeah, largely, I agree with a lot of what you say there. Momentum builds motivation. You start taking action on things. And typically when someone first quits a substance, they're lacking dopamine. They're lacking the very thing that's responsible for motivation to take action. So that action has to be kind of forced. And then slowly you start to make progress, you start to build momentum, and then the motivation follows. And in the beginning, I'd say it's not so much about motivation. It is more about discipline and probably a little bit of grit and commitment, because you're in many times when you're abusing substances, you're lacking the very neurochemical you need that's responsible for motivation. Okay. So yeah, just for whatever that's worth, but largely I agree with that. All right. Craig says, how do I deal with my time triggers? Like, my body automatically thinks to go for the weed out of my complete control at certain times during the day. So right off the bat, you are in control. To sit here and say that you are not in control is absurd. Cannabis has no ability to manipulate you. Now, maybe you have a physical dependence to it or something like that, but cannabis has no inherent ability to manipulate you into something, okay? So right off the bat, I think your mindset is thrown off. And as far as triggers, well, I know it is based on your comment, and that's okay. I'm going to help you with that. And as far as triggers go, you are the one who triggers yourself. You are literally triggering yourself by telling yourself that you are out of control. Now, maybe you've gone through other rehab things. Maybe you've gone through other programs and they've told you you're out of control. You have disease. You can't control this. So maybe that's why you're thinking that way. But that is just based on science. That's not true. You are capable of controlling your behaviors. You're triggering yourself to go do that because you're telling yourself you're not in control. Time is not the trigger here. it's your belief system that's triggering you, okay? Now, as far as your body automatically thinking it's time to go smoke weed, yeah, I talk about this a lot with people. For a lot of people, consuming cannabis is delineating one aspect of their day for another aspect of their day. I used to work super hard, and then at night I would go home, consume cannabis, watch pornography. And the act of consuming cannabis, that behavior, was delineating my work day from my relaxing time, okay? You can switch those behaviors. You can put in different triggers or different cues to delineate one part of your day from another part of your day, or signify one part of your day from another part of the day. It doesn't have to be weed, right? For me, when I wrap up my day now, I drink a flavored ice water drink and I eat a Honey Crisp apple. Like, that's literally my trigger to go do something else and end working. When I want to work out, I drink beetroot juice powder and take creatine capsules. That's my trigger to go exercise. In the past, I used to abuse stimulants to do that. That used to be my trigger. But like, it's only you triggering yourself, and your body will stop thinking that when you practice not doing that for a long enough period of time. Okay. But to say that's completely out of your control is just false. Now, maybe you do have a physical dependence on it, and maybe there's a little more work that needs to be done to overcome that. Like, in the case of someone who like drinks like 30, 40 drinks of alcohol a day, yes, their body truly is out of control at that point. They've become physically dependent on alcohol, and they need to detox it so that drug no longer controls them. But they're still capable of detoxing. So, Aunt G says, any help on overcoming Zyn addiction? Yeah, I mean, why do you want to quit? I mean, it's like any nicotine addiction. What are the benefits you get from it? Why do you want to stop? What have you tried? What haven't you tried? I mean, there's a million things you could do. You could look at going cold turkey. You could look at using nicotine patches with combination of supplements like N-acetylcysteine and KSM-66 ashwagandha. We sell a chewing gum that's incredible for that, by the way. Kick It Crave Less chewing gum. kickitrevolution.com. I've had many people quit Zyn just with the use of our supplement. It's a great supplement, chewing gum supplement that contains N-acetylcysteine and ashwagandha. But like, yeah, I mean, what have you tried? What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? I guess let's start there when it comes to Zyn, and maybe we can take it from there. There's all types of, you can go online. You could get a nootropic pouch. If you go on Amazon and you type in nootropic pouches, lion's mane pouches, you could try some habit replacement. And look, all these things I'm telling you, they're going to help. But like, at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to mindset. That's really what it is. I want you guys to recognize something about nicotine, though, okay? Nicotine, even though they talk about it like this big bad wolf, it's a very weak drug. It leaves your system in 3 to 5 days, and the detox is over. Yeah, you may experience prolonged withdrawal. I know for most people I work with when it's coming off of Zyn. I know for myself too. When I was addicted to chewing tobacco and nicotine pouches, the anxiety was really the toughest thing, and the brain fog was the toughest thing to overcome. But simple stuff. Again, taking a shower first thing in the morning, taking a shower in the evenings again, going for walks first thing in the morning. All of like simple, eating more fruit, all of that helps. But when you're quitting Zyn, you also maybe got to consider there's probably some blood sugar dysregulation. But again, using like a 7 milligram nicotine patch for the first few weeks when you quit can really help to offset that cortisol and blood sugar dysregulation that might occur with it. But recognize, like, it's a weak drug. I've thought about, to prove a point, I've thought about utilizing nicotine products again and documenting my journey, getting quote unquote addicted and then getting unaddicted and doing it live for people to see. I wouldn't do it with cannabis or alcohol or anything else just because I'm so like repulsed by those substances. But yeah, I've thought about that just to show people like you're very, very, very capable of stopping. Nicotine, I want you to recognize, is the most quit substance out there. There's literally millions of people, I don't know, a year who just wake up and stop using nicotine. So you're more than capable of doing it. If someone's using a substance like nicotine and they just feel like they're incapable, they can't do it, we should talk. You should look at the link in the video description and we should talk, because I don't know why you lost that faith in your ability to do that. And we have to work on a way to restore that. You're more than capable of stopping nicotine. It's just you probably see some value to it, and you're concerned that you're losing that benefit when you stop. That's making it hard. Okay, look at that. We got Lester, 47 months off of meth and oxy. Incredible, incredible. Anthony still has dreams about using. Uh, uh, um, yeah, the dream. Yeah, I know who you are, Anthony. Yeah, those dreams will go away eventually. They take time. I mean, I tell most people usually within 90, maybe max 120 days, most of those dreams will resolve. They're annoying. The dreams of using drugs again, very common though. That's a very good signal that your brain is on the right path to healing. Like I usually look for that with people when I'm working with them. I look for those dreams to start occurring because that tells me that that rewiring of those neural pathways is happening in the brain. So you're on the right course. And you don't have to go back to why would Anthony, you don't have to go back to rehab if you don't use the substances. There's never any need to go back to rehab. That's completely in your control whether or not you go back. So don't feel like that's out of your control. That's completely in your control, my man. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Joanne asked me, how do I fight the cravings for nicotine? Well, I think there's so many things I could say on this. One, what is it that you actually crave in life? Chances are it's not nicotine. Chances are it's better physical health, better finances, better mental clarity. Whatever it is that nicotine's damaging in your life that you want to stop. Identify why you want to stop and identify those things as your actual cravings. What do you actually crave? Secondly, disassociate from the cravings. It's not you that craves nicotine, it's that addicted voice in your head. And you are not that voice. You crave better relationships, better mental health, better physical health, better finances. You don't crave more of the drug. That's that addicted voice. So start to create some separation from it. I recognize that that's not you. And then I don't think you need to fight the cravings. I would actually argue to do the opposite. Don't make a big deal of them, devalue them. If your worst day is a boredom and some cravings, you're having a very, very good day. If that's the biggest challenge that you're facing today, you're having a phenomenal day. Cravings can't hurt you. Cravings can't manipulate you. Cravings can't do anything to you. They're an annoyance. But don't make a big deal of them because they're not. It feels like a big deal when we make a big deal of them, but they're not a big deal. Okay. Again, you could look at nicotine replacement therapy. You could look at supplementation like N-acetylcysteine. You could look into our chewing gum, kick it, crave less chewing gum, right? There's a lot of things you could do. But yeah, I guess I'd start there. You could look into some simple habit replacement things, but again, it comes down to a mindset. I'll give you a technique when it comes to cravings. So I want you to picture that you're at a beach and there's an ocean rolling in, and there's all types of white caps on the waves. And these white caps each represent something different. One represents anxiety, depression, cravings. And you have an option. You can pick up a surfboard and jump in the ocean and try and surf all these cravings. Or you can just pop open a lounge chair, pop open a seltzer water, sip at it, and watch those waves come up, hit your feet, and then wash back out to sea. You don't need to fight it. You just need to let it pass, is basically the point of this analogy. Those cravings will go away. And I don't know what day you're on here. You don't acknowledge the cravings. That's how you get past them. You don't have to acknowledge them. They don't deserve your attention. Your attention is needed in other places of your life. They don't deserve your time. They don't deserve your attention because they're meaningless. They're minuscule. It's that addicted voice. It doesn't deserve your time and attention. That's what I would tell you. Okay, Donnie says, I'm not first, I'm not last. But when you live stream, I click really fast. Thank you, Donnie. That was catchy. That made me laugh. Lester says, I can still build a great life at 33 after getting clean from a brutal meth addiction. Of course you can still build a great life. You're 33 years old. Of course you can. You got time on your side, my friend. Yeah, you can build a great life. Yes, the answer is yes. Don't let your past determine your future. Like, that's in your past. Okay, what's coming up next, Lester? Like, that's it. That's your past. And Lester, I would actually argue that you probably have taken some very incredible traits away from getting sober, right? You went through the process of sobriety. You've successfully done it. You've probably learned a thing or two about commitment and discipline and grit. And you've probably developed some of the character traits that that people need to build a successful life, a great life. And Lester, this comes down to, how do you define a great life? What's that defined by? Is it defined by relationships, faith, finances, physical health? Like, how do you define a great life? And what are the action steps that you need to take to make that great life become achievable, right? And keep in mind, we all have a different definition of what a great life looks like. But yes, I'm more than confident that you can. Just on the fact that you've overcome what you've overcome, I know you got the skill set that you need to build a great life. You got all the care. Anyone who struggles with addiction has the character traits that they need to do something great. They just need to apply those traits towards building versus destroying, and they'll kick ass. I'm so positive of it. Any tips to avoid weight gain when quitting vaping nicotine? I'm going to sound like an asshole right now, but the answer is yes. Watch the foods that you're putting into your mouth. Be conscious with the foods that you're consuming, and you won't gain weight, okay? Now, I say this as someone who has dramatically fluctuated in weight, okay? I've been super lean and ripped. I've been fatter. I've been all across the board, okay? So I do have some sympathy, but like, straightforward answer, that's the answer. If you want to snack, snack on fruit. Don't snack on junk. Okay. Right. Try and make sure you're eating healthy amounts of protein. Make sure you're eating healthy fats. Make sure you're eating healthy sources of carbohydrates, not in excess, and you won't gain weight. I mean, it's that simple. Remain physically active. You won't gain weight. People talk about nicotine and like, oh, I gained so much weight afterwards. It's a limiting belief that that's going to happen. It's a preconceived belief that people have going into, I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to gain all this weight. Yeah, if that's what you're telling yourself is going to happen, it's probably going to happen because you're already giving yourself permission to allow that to happen before it's even occurred. So like, most people know how to eat healthy, right? Like common sense, like don't drink pop, don't eat a lot of processed food. Try and cook more at home. If you're not going to cook at home, get salads, get fish, get steaks when you're out. Like, no rocket science to it, right? Like, don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate it. Quit. Okay, if you look at people statistically who use nicotine compared to people who don't, like if we took all the people in the world that smoke cigarettes and vape and this and that, statistically, especially in the United States, you're going to find a majority of those individuals are going to be overweight. Nicotine is not, yes, it can be an appetite suppressant to an extent because you're putting something else in your mouth that's not food, okay? But nicotine is not the cure for weight gain or healthy weight management. Otherwise, no one would be obese that consumes nicotine. And there are tons of people who are obese who consume nicotine. I was an obese person consuming nicotine for many years. I was my heaviest when I was knees, balls deep into my nicotine addiction, okay? So like, you know, don't go into quitting thinking that you're going to gain weight, because if that's what you're thinking is going to happen, you're essentially giving yourself permission for that to happen right off the bat. Now, I'm going to ease up a little bit on you, and I'm going to say, don't judge yourself too much. All right? If vaping nicotine is the biggest deterrent in your life right now and causing the biggest problems, if when you quit, you do happen to experience a little bit of weight gain, maybe you are being a little bit more lenient on the food, don't stress. All right? Like, be reasonable, but don't beat yourself up. Let's take the thing that's the biggest problem in your life right now, which sounds like it's quitting vaping. Let's get that under control. And then let's worry about the nutrition a little bit later on, right? Assuming you're not like in end stage diabetes right now or something like that, which maybe you could be. So, yeah. I smoked weed to quit nicotine, says Thomas. Okay, that's cool. My only advice would be is don't give weed the superpower of helping you quit nicotine. I can't tell you how many times I talk to people where they're like, yeah, I smoked weed to quit alcohol. I smoked weed to quit nicotine. And it's like, no, you quit because of you. Don't give some external thing that power. Don't give some external thing because you were the one who made that decision. You were the one that quit. Celebrate your own strength. Celebrate your own ability to remain committed to a decision. Don't give that ability to a lifeless object like cannabis. I'm glad fine, if that worked for you, it worked for you. But like that would be my word of caution. Okay. I made that mistake many, many times. I'd say, oh, weed's helping me stay away from nicotine. Oh, weed's helping me stay away from alcohol. Alcohol is helping me stay away from weed. And it's just such BS. What you're doing is you're discrediting your own ability to achieve things, and you're giving undue capabilities to a drug. And I just don't want you to miss that beautiful thing about yourself, okay? Um, okay, let's see here. 2 years of addiction. Can I get any better? Of course. Of course you can get better. You can go. We work with people who have had, I was what, 9 years of addiction, I think. Right? We work with people who are like 20, 30 years of addiction and they get better. I've worked with people who have had liver cirrhosis and needed transplants who have gotten better. I mean, like, yeah, of course you can get better. Of course. It's fear. It's don't fall for that. That's that addicted voice. It's been 2 years. I can't get any better. It's fear. It's false expectations appearing real. And what happens is you start to develop that fear. Oh, I can't get any better. Is it even worth it? And then you don't even try. And then you don't even try because you become scared that you might not succeed. Don't fall for that. And listen, I say this as someone who thought I had made myself permanently dumb, permanently screwed from consuming the amount of drugs that I did at one point in my life, right? I'm better. I'm better. And I had things that I was told would never get better. I developed osteoporosis. I developed neuropathy in my hands and my feet from my drug consumption that had to do with stimulants, nicotine. I abused Adderall and Ritalin at a point. Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, I believe, played a role. It's hard to say for sure. But yeah, of course you have the ability to get better, especially at your age, okay? So please, yeah. Nicotine is the physically addictive one. Weed is not. So I completely disagree with this. I have a YouTube video coming out about it. Yes, you have receptors in your body for nicotine, and you have receptors in your body for cannabis, okay? You have receptors in your body for both. But nicotine is a very weak drug. It detoxes incredibly fast, and those nicotine receptors rebound incredibly fast, okay? Cannabis, I think, is 1,000 times worse because when you consume cannabis at really high levels, your body actually stops making its own endocannabinoids. And your endocannabinoid system literally helps to regulate every other system in your body: your cardiac function, your digestion, your bone growth, emotional regulation, sleep patterns. So, cannabis, in my opinion, is significantly more physically addicting, or the professional way to say this would be puts you at a greater risk of developing physical dependence, I think, than almost any other drug out there because of how it impacts that endocannabinoid system. And you see this in extremes with people, guys. I coach a lot of people who have a condition called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. I've coached people who have been in and out of psychosis. Cannabis, I think, is far more damaging than nicotine when it comes to the physical dependence aspect of things. Okay. Nicotine you can get over relatively fast. Nicotine replacement therapy for some people is a reasonable option that can do the trick. Yeah, I totally disagree with that, but I know where you get that from, Thomas. That's the rhetoric out there. I have a YouTube video, very evidence-based YouTube video that's going to be talking about this very soon. Yeah, I quit smoking for 1 year now. Congratulations, Sam. Awesome. Vincent, thank you for the kind words. I'm happy to be helping. I really appreciate you guys. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for you guys supporting and helping and all that stuff. Mind blowing 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate it. How do you devalue a substance? I've done it on live calls with people on here in a matter of 10-minute phone conversations, but like, what value do you see in that drug, right? Is it stress relief? Is it reprieve from the boredom? Is it anxiety relief? And then you question that. Is it really providing me with these benefits that I believe it is? Is it really giving me what I think it is? And if we can arrive at the answer is no, you're successfully on your way to devaluing that drug. Now, I know it sounds easy, and in some cases it can be, but many times it's not as easy as you think. I can't tell you the amount of people that call me that say, I just use the drug because, I'm just addicted and that's it. I don't enjoy anything about it. But then when I talk to them, we dig out like 20 things that they enjoy about using the drug that we then have to question and devalue over time. Here's the problem, Sam. I'm sorry, mind blowing 2, 3, 4, 5. It's hard to devalue something when you're in active drug consumption, right? Because your mind's a little foggy. Things are a little cloudy. That's where I really shine in helping people, whether it's on my YouTube videos or in our one-on-one calls. Which again, if you guys are enjoying this, you're a high performance individual, high level professional. We have a protocol specifically for you. It's a science-backed method at helping people quit nicotine and cannabis in as little as 48 hours privately without disrupting your public life and image. I put a link in the video description for that, for those of you guys who might want to apply for the one-on-one coaching if you're a good candidate, okay? Master Pete, I'm glad I calmed you down. Okay. Joanne says, so what I'm getting from you is don't think of smoking, but get started on doing anything but that. Literally, Joanne, anything but that. Yes. Like there's a million things you could do. There's a million other things you might need to be doing today. Do that, and those cravings will go away. And if you really want to get a winning formula, do things that are going to satisfy the actual cravings that you have in life. You want to quit nicotine or smoking because you want better physical health. Do things that are going to move you towards better physical health instead of smoking, right? And you will eventually start to crave those things more than you crave the drug itself. But it's not just that. That's the habit replacement part. But even bigger to dismantle craving. Look, I'm not going to crave a drug if I don't see value in that drug, right? I could go into a cannabis dispensary store. I can walk into a gas station and look at all the tobacco on the wall, and I have zero craving for it because I see no value in it anymore. Now, that's not to say in the first, 3, 5 days, 14 days of quitting, sure, those cravings are there because you're physically detoxing the drug and you want some of it. But like, even there's the perceived benefit of, oh, this drug, I'm going to consume it again. I'm going to smoke again to alleviate the withdrawals. Well, even that benefit is BS. It's just going to continue the cycle of withdrawal. So yeah, literally do anything. And Joanne, I'll tell you this too. When you have cravings, sometimes the best thing you can say to yourself is, it is what it is. I'm not going to feel this way forever. It's not a big deal. How I feel today is not how I'm going to feel tomorrow. And I'm just going to keep going through this. And Joanne, I'll hit you with something else too. Look, you have a reason why you're quitting. Why is it that you're quitting? What is it that you want out of quitting smoking? And Joanne, when you said, I want to quit because I want better physical health, better relationships, whatever it is that you're saying, don't put a contingency on that. And I don't think you have, but are you saying I want to quit for better physical health unless I get cravings, unless I get some detox and withdrawal symptoms? No, you have stuff that you want to accomplish it despite whatever it is that you're feeling. Do that. Build out that skill. I'm going to do what ought to be done because it's what I want to do. Okay. So very cool. Very cool, Joanne. How do I get over the mindset of I failed when it comes to quitting pot? What define failure? I mean, I fail constantly at things all the time. The path to success is paved in failure. I very much believe that. So I don't think you failed. And I don't know how old you are, Aunt G, but like chances are this is just one of many chapters of your life. You're talking about failure as if it's a permanent thing at this point in time. And unless you were to drop dead now, you didn't fail. So I don't understand. I don't understand where you're coming from. I never look at any situation as I failed or I succeeded because my story's not over yet. You're calling the game on yourself too soon. You're calling a loss way too soon. I can already tell you. I know exactly where your mindset's at, and you're calling that loss way too soon. How do you get over the mindset of I failed? You didn't fail. You're actively trying to figure out what your best path to success is going to be. And anyone doing that, whether it's building a business, building a relationship, parenting, it doesn't matter. All these things we experience moments of failure. People who do well in life fail multiple times. And they get really good at moving on from it. One of my biggest attributes that I took away from substance use was the amount of failure that I experienced time and time again. I tried to quit probably 1,000 times over the I'll say of 9 years of active substance use to 7 of those years that I truly wanted to stop. I can't tell you how many times I failed, but you know what? I got used to failure. I got used to overcoming failure. And then I carried that into my business goals. I carried that in my relationships, right? My ability to process failure and quickly move on from it and pivot to come up with a new solution is incredible. And I developed that skill set from my experience in sobriety. Okay. Dr. Frank, your discovery of controlling sexual desires by fasting is amazing. I don't know when I talked about that. Maybe I did at one point in my life, Sam. I'm glad that helped you. I don't know if that sounds familiar to me, but I am a fan of fasting, so maybe there's something that I said. Um, um, yeah, I'm not sure. So okay. Andrea says hello. I went 2 weeks without a vape, but I had a relapse today. Andrea, you didn't relapse. You consciously chose to consume nicotine again or a vape again, whether it was cannabis or nicotine. And the reason why you chose to do that is because your withdrawal symptoms were so hard. I felt angry and depressed. Well, Andrea, I think you can feel a little less angry and depressed knowing that you did not relapse. You did not spontaneously combust into consuming a vape again. You made a conscious decision. You said, my withdrawal symptoms are brutal, and I feel like consuming this drug again is going to alleviate those withdrawal symptoms. So, one, you made a conscious decision. You did not spontaneously relapse. This is a decision that you were in control of making. So don't feel depressed and angry about that. Okay, don't. You had a problem. You saw vaping again as the solution to that problem, and you made that choice. Don't be angry at yourself for making that choice. Now, secondly, you're 2 weeks. Okay, it's at the 2 week mark if we're talking about nicotine, where you start to process the byproducts of nicotine, which is like cotinine. So it's very common to run into that 2 week hump when someone's quitting nicotine. Okay, it's a very common first 3 to 5 days, and then again in 2 weeks are very common points where people slip up, just because at 2 weeks you hit that max detox again. So if the withdrawal symptoms were kicking your butt, consider nicotine, do a nicotine patch next time around and just wean off with nicotine patches. That can help. Now, next thing I'll say too is like, look, it sucks either way. Okay. Being addicted sucks, and having withdrawal symptoms sucks. Okay. They both suck. But if something's going to suck, at least make that suffering worth something. Withdrawal is worth something. It's worth the promise of something better. A return to addiction, which sucks, is not, there's no promise of something better there. So if it's going to suck either way, I literally just said this to a client on the phone before I did this live. We were having some exchanges back and forth. I literally said to this individual, if climbing up the mountain sucks, but also falling down the mountain sucks, which path of suckiness would you rather choose? It's going to be hard either way. Would you rather choose the path that's hard that gets you to the top? Or would you rather fall flat on your face and scrape your way down, falling into a puddle of mud at the bottom? Both suck, but at least one has a better view when you get to the top, right? So, yeah, I think we got to reframe that mindset. Also, it wasn't you withdrawing. It was the addiction going through withdrawal. It was the addicted voice. And this is addiction's way of trying to suck you back in. You fell for it. Next time around you feel that, it's a big F you to addiction. Say, yeah, that's right. I know you're feeling this. I know you're feeling that discomfort. I know you're feeling that pain. I'm glad that you are. This is a signal that you're dying and I'm thriving. Okay? So some simple reframes for you there. I hope that helps you, Andrea. But tons of options. Okay? Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of fasting. I'm a big fan of fasting, Sam. I am. Now, this is interesting. I'll mention something. People ask me about fasting a lot, and should I fast when I quit drugs? Yeah, there's probably benefits to that. Speeding up the detox, allowing your organs to really focus on getting the drugs out. I only tell people though, do that if it's something you're used to doing. Like if you've never fasted before and now you're quitting like 3 or 4 drugs and you're going to do all this at once. For some people, it's way too intense. But if you have a history of fasting and it's something that you're familiar with doing, then by all means, go for it. When is the focus going to come back and work after a really high snooze intake? Yeah. So in some of these cases, this is where I use nicotine patches with people if that focus gets really thrown off. I also typically will supplement with other nootropics. You can look at alpha GPC capsules or pouches on Amazon. Right? It takes a little bit. It does. I was very concerned about that when I quit nicotine. I felt like I couldn't formulate a sentence at my job or respond to an email, let alone formulate a sentence when I quit nicotine. So I know what you're talking about. It does come back. Again, guys, I give the blanket statement of you shouldn't make any judgment calls for the first 90 days. How you feel in the first 90 days is going to vary day to day. For most people, after a period of about 90 days, they're really turning a positive corner. Okay. But if you're really struggling, when we help people quit drugs, I work with a lot of physicians. I work with attorneys. I work with surgeons. I work with real estate professionals. We work with financial advisors, investors. And I work with a lot of people who have, I work with a lot of high pressure sales individuals who are involved in high ticket sales. And a lot of them have a lot of like job performance metrics that they have to keep up with. And I always say, we're going to quit this drug without disrupting your life in any major way. And sometimes in the case of coming off really high level snus, we got to do a nicotine patch to mitigate some of that stuff. Now, also, you can set up systems to help you with focus. I just had a conversation with a young gentleman, an investor, and he was saying, I just can't focus since quitting nicotine. My focus and my will to work just doesn't seem to be there. And we determined after a conversation, he was just on his phone too freaking much. He kind of put down the nicotine and he picked up his phone in place of it. I think he told me he clocked 10 hours of screen time one of the days. And he was sick in his defense. He might be watching this. In his defense, he was sick during that time. But I was like, dude, that's a problem, man. It's not the lack of nicotine why you can't focus. You're on your phone way too damn much right now. A mistake I've made many, many times. So I think you also do have to look at like other lifestyle factors that could be impacting your focus negatively at work. I also think you probably need a little bit of a cue to start working. That could be an alpha GPC pouch. That could be a cup of coffee. It could be some other mechanism to start working. When I wake up and I start work, if I have a stressful day ahead of me, I'll chew some of my chewing gum. And that's just kind of a cue, a trigger that my brain is going into work mode, right? Lots of options, though. Lots of options to help you with that. Again, if you're really struggling with it, just let me know. And we got that link in the video description where we work with people one-on-one to help you. Honeybee, I've been reducing my nicotine intake, but whenever I get extremely angry or do a task that takes a lot of concentration, like studying, that's when I give it a hit into the vape. So, Honeybee, congratulations on reducing your nicotine intake. And look, maybe you want to keep using nicotine. Maybe you really like the nootropic benefits of nicotine. So let's talk about harm reduction in your case. Maybe you look into pouches, something that's safer than vaping, okay? A 3 milligram Velo pouch or sting-free pouch or no-app pouch. Maybe you switch over to that. Even if you're still abusing it, you definitely are reducing harm. I don't know that I would have got through school without some of the drugs that I used, including nicotine. I don't know. I don't know that I would have been as successful in my career to start if I didn't have those drugs. So I get it. I get where you're coming from. But remember, what gets you going isn't going to keep you growing. I tell business professionals that all the time. I got a lot of people who built their careers in active substance use, and the substances did work to their benefit. But I say the thing that got you started isn't what's going to keep this thing going. So stuff changes. Now, going back to you, maybe it's a patch. Maybe you look into alternate supplements to help you focus. Maybe it's not giving you the level of concentration that you think it is. Maybe you have the belief that it is, right? And that's probably more likely the case than anything. Okay, so I think there's some things you really got to start to question there. Is this really helping me? Or am I just under the impression that it's helping me? Have I just instilled that belief into myself? Because again, nicotine, a fascinating drug, but a relatively weak drug. So yeah, I might do a live tomorrow, Anthony. I don't know. I'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. I'm on here tonight, so we'll see. We'll see where I'm at. Yeah. So Honeybee, again, if you quit vaping in your concentration shot, switch to a harm reduction method for right now, and then reassess later on. Okay, right? Switch to patches. Switch to a gum. Switch to a pouch. Harm reduction. Just do harm reduction right now. And then reassess that at another point, honestly. Right? Like, that it will put you already in a better place. 64, I'm 3 weeks without nicotine. Yes. I'm in a much better mindset to never relapse, to never choose to go back to using this substance again. Congratulations. Congratulations. Awesome. Awesome. Uh, okay. And I want to say something too for those of you guys that are like, nicotine helps me focus. Yes, there's science behind that. Okay. But look, when you get a nicotine addiction and like a dependence to it, it becomes, I can't focus without this now, is what it becomes. And like, I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on the side of the coin where I was in college and building my career, where I used nicotine all day long to power through stuff. I've been on the side of not using nicotine for many years. Okay. Like, I can tell you with certainty, I operate significantly better without nicotine than I did with it. Now, again, that's not to say that there may be a time for some people where they want to use nicotine in a medicinal manner, right? They want to do a microdose of it for focus or something. I'm not against that. I'm against the abuse or the addiction to it. Okay? That's what I help people with. So I think you just gotta be real with yourself, okay? But I think like when you're talking using nicotine constantly, it just kills your focus because now it's like, oh, I can't focus without this. And then you're going in and out of detox and withdrawal every 20, 30, 60 minutes. It can kill your focus. People don't even realize how bad it can get. It can crush your focus. Um, I haven't had Zen in 8 hours and it really sucks. When does it get better? Well, Glenn, I don't know, probably 3, 4, 5, 6 days it gets better. And you might be like, 3, 4, 5 days, I can barely get through the next 2 hours. Glenn, 3 days, 4 days is a sliver of your life. It's a sliver of time. When people talk to me and they're like, I can't get through this for the next day. And I was there. I am people. I was people. I'm like, you can. You've overcome much harder things in your life up to this point. You can get through it. And also, we should be concerned if a person is in a mindset where they're saying, I can't do this for 3 days. I can't. You can. And you know, it's funny because a lot of society can't do something for 3 days, 4 days. They can't push through that. And gosh, you guys have such an incredible opportunity in quitting drugs to develop that muscle of commitment and discipline and grit and tenacity. I mean, just proving to yourself that you can push through 3 or 4 days of something can go a really long way, right? You want to build a business. You want to, what it took me to build this YouTube channel? It wasn't 3 or 4 or 5 days of grinding it out. It's been freaking 7 years to build the things I built of grinding it out. But that mindset began with getting through 3 days without drugs. That's where it began. And I know I'm not the only person who's quit drugs who thinks this way, who's taken that away from this experience. Why are blood sugar levels affected when quitting nicotine? Because nicotine creates a release in norepinephrine and adrenaline, and when that happens, you get a spike in blood sugar typically. So when you stop, blood sugar dysregulation can occur. Also, nicotine impacts cortisol when you're stopping and when you're using it constantly. And cortisol is a stress hormone, it's a fat storage hormone, and that can also impact blood sugar levels. That's why I tell people eating fruit can be a really, really good thing. Yeah, Anthony, you're 62 days, man. You got to hang in there. You got to get to that 90, 120 days. And I think you're going to start turning a corner. Aloha from Maui, April Flowers. Aloha, beautiful over there in Maui, I'm sure. Yeah, the vivid dreams can be scary for sure. Okay. I'm 7 months free and I very rarely I'll wake up feeling high. Yeah, it probably took me a good year and a half to get over all the negative symptoms I was experiencing. But guys, I had psychosis. I had cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. I was abusing high amounts of caffeine, high amounts of pornography, insane amounts of nicotine, chewing tobacco, vaping. I smoked cigarettes for a while. So it's reasonable that I did that for 9 years, that it took me probably a full year and a half, 2 years to really feel better. It took a while, but it's reasonable. You have to look at how long have I been doing this behavior? And then people will quit for like 3 weeks and they're like, I can't believe I don't feel better. And even though they're having improvements, I'm like, whoa. You've been smoking weed and, drinking 3 energy drinks a day for 25 years. This isn't going to reverse in 3 weeks. Having proper expectations is very important. Okay. Grit and heavy ENT. I'm on day 3, no nicotine and no weed. You are stronger than this. You're going through the ringer, stopping both at once. You're going through the ringer. Congratulations. Let's see. Yeah, Anthony, you've been threatened back into treatment. I understand. You've been coerced back into treatment. I understand where that fear is coming from, Anthony. Yeah, I get it, man. Um, it doesn't have to happen though. It just it's what I say. It doesn't have to happen. Um, Boredom is the devaluing process. To an extent, boredom can be a process in which you devalue a drug because it's when you're bored, your brain is going to come up with other things to do. But being bored and acknowledging that using drugs is not going to solve that problem for you would be devaluing it. Okay. Um, okay, let's see here. Uh, Anything you put in your mind to we can do for sure. Yeah, it stuff is all about perception, guys. It really, really is. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. Right? That's it. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. I definitely did gain weight after smoking without manifesting it. Yeah, little hippie, sometimes it happens. It's natural, right? Your brain stops using one form of dopamine, it's gonna reach for the next quickest thing. But little hippie, like you can like people lose weight, right? Like we can fix that. You know what I mean? That's very fixable. It's a very, very fixable thing. It's nothing to get too right. It's nothing to beat yourself up over. It's very fixable. Does weed have a link to acne? Yeah. So you made a good call here, JS. It's is has cannabis consumption resulted in poor self care, poor diet, poor self care practices that has in turn resulted in acne? That's one possibility. Um, Two, does weed impact acne? Well, I'm certain it could. I mean, your endocannabinoid system plays a massive role in hormonal regulation. So I would say if you've been told you have hormonally driven acne, then yeah, it probably is related to cannabis consumption. I'm sure there's many ways where cannabis relates to acne. I'm sure there's many, many ways it does. Um, but I think that will differ from person to person. Okay. Um, how long until nicotine's 100% out of your system? Really, 2 weeks. I mean, within 2 weeks, all the byproducts of it are out. But I mean, you'll test negative for nicotine after 3 to 5 days in many cases. It's a weak drug. Now, that means the detox is over. The healing and the withdrawal is different from the detox. Okay. Just to be clear. Um, I don't believe cigars deliver nicotine to the bloodstream faster than cigarettes. You probably intake more nicotine with a cigar than you do a cigarette, but most people don't consume cigars in the volume that they would consume cigarettes. So it's rare I get people calling me to quit cigars. Just because most people who do it, it's like a more of a moderate behavior. So the risk just isn't as high. Is there any justification for daily cannabis use? Sure. If you feel it improves your quality of life, then that's enough justification for me to consume it daily. Right? I'm not going to be the one to justify or not justify it for a person. That's up to you, George. If you feel it improves your quality of life, it's justified. If it's something you truly enjoy doing and it's truly improving your quality of life and you have no concerns about addiction or the consequences of it, that's justification to do it every day. I'm sure there's other medical reasons that people could come up with, other lifestyle situations, right? Um, I'm not the one to answer that though, because that's an individual basis. Okay. Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. It's where you're vomiting, throwing up, all that stuff. Okay. Yeah. Anytime, guys. I got you. How long were you addicted to nicotine? I was addicted to nicotine from the age of I was either 16 or 18 when I started. I started in high school. It started with chewing tobacco and cigarettes. Then I got heavy into cigars. I used to go to a park at night. I'd sneak out of my house. I'd put a tent in the back of my house and I'd tell my parents I was sleeping outside in a tent. And then I would go to a local park at like 1 a.m. and buy cigars and cigarellos off of a guy. And like 1 in the morning, I'd steal cash from my parents and go buy cigars and Sorellos. So weird. God, that tent smelled so bad. My parents had to be like, what the hell is going on back here? But anyways, yeah, so I did that from 16 or 18 right up until about the age of 27. I was addicted to nicotine. And, I started vaping to quit chewing tobacco and cigarettes. But then, like, at one point, I was just doing all three. When I couldn't chew, I would vape. When I couldn't vape, I would chew. It was just a big mess. So Lil Hippie, is cannabis worse than I'm making a video about this soon. I'm going to be comparing cannabis to alcohol, cannabis to nicotine, nicotine to alcohol. I'm coming out with a series of comparison videos for you guys. Is weed worse on the lungs than cigarettes? Very complicated question. Very complicated. I don't know. And I'll tell you why I don't know. The amount of pesticides that we're finding in cannabis products and vape products is alarming. If you're talking about like blunts, you're depositing, I think, 2 times the tar than you are in cigarettes. Now, typically in the past, people weren't consuming cannabis at the rate they consumed cigarettes. But now it's not uncommon. I work with people from who smoke cannabis once a week and it's screwing up their life, all the way to people who consume cannabis and they chain smoke cannabis the same way you would chain smoke cigarettes. So when you're comparing weed to cigarettes, you have to take the mode of consumption into consideration, and you have to take the quantity into consideration in order to say, are we really comparing apples to apples here? But in theory, if you're consuming just as much weed as you are cigarettes, technically, if you're doing blunts and pre-rolls, you're depositing more tar into your lungs. If you're doing vapes of weed, comparing that to cigarettes, well, I don't know. It depends on the quality of the product that you have and the third-party testing reports on it. Okay. Yeah, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Google that one. It involves cyclical vomiting, widespread body pain. Usually, it results in weight loss. Pain only relieved by hot showers. Horrible condition. Horrible condition. Okay. Yeah, for a lot of people, nicotine, I don't even want to say it's harder to quit than weed. It just tends to be more ingrained in a person's life than cannabis is, right? So, okay. All right. All right, guys. I think, yeah, nicotine detoxes through your urine. It does. Um, okay. Let's see here. Um, when can you start exercising when quitting nicotine? As soon as you want, as soon as you feel like you're up to it. Um, okay. True. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna go to bed now. So this was a lot of fun, and this is live on YouTube at right now, and it will be a recording that plays. Now, look, if you guys enjoyed this and you need help, we do have our addiction exit protocol. I put a link in the video description. I'll pin it in the comment where you can apply to work with me directly one-on-one, okay? Protocol is really designed for entrepreneurs, business owners, high-level professionals, just because that's where we are. I am on TikTok. I think it's under Doc Frank here. DOCFRANKHERE. Instagram is also the addiction mindset. I'll post on there, all that fun stuff, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here with me tonight. I really had a lot of fun, and this was a good thing. Addicted BI, you just joined. What was your question for me? Did you have a question for me, Addicted BI? Did you have something? Oh, you're addicted to nicotine. Watch the replay on this. We talked about nicotine a lot tonight. Thanks, Grit and Heavy ENT. I'm happy to have you as a subscriber. We got an incredible community over here. We really, really do, guys. All right. We'll be back at it again soon. Enjoy your evening, guys.